What's up? What's up? It is What's Up Wednesday. We finally made it here.
Finally got here. Finally.
Oh wow! I've been anxious for this, y'all. I've been anxious. Okay. So today we're gonna talk about a couple topics. Like I said in the commercial, I am Carmen Dumas. I am 21 years old, and we're gonna talk about what's going on today.
That's right. So hey, this is Pastor Dumas. I'm so glad you allowed us your first space. Look, what's up? What's up Wednesday? So here we are. We're ready to tackle some issues, talk about some things that you've been going through. So let us just dive right in. You do know where we are as a nation. You do know where we are as a people and even as a community. And so we wanted to make sure that you all knew that we did not forget about you all. We wanted to make sure that we came to you all, hey, right here, right now, fresh, real, raw, exactly how you're feeling. So that's what we're here today to do. And we want to thank so many of you all who called and gave us your input of how you're really feeling. So we're going to jump into this conversation. That's all we're going to do is just have a wonderful conversation today about basically what's going on. And so I want to thank Carmen for coming on being a part of this. I also thank Brittany and Caitlin being in the background, making everything well. And also to Stone Love Nation, we thank God for you as well. So here we go. So Carmen, here we are. We're dealing with this COVID-19. We're dealing with all these things that are going on. There's a lot of things that came to a screeching halt. I mean, one day we were living life as normal, just doing our day-to-day lives and activities. Kids were going to school, people were going to work, children were playing at the basketball court, you had baseball games going on. We were in the middle of the NBA season. The NCAA tournament was about to start. All those things were going on all at the same time, and all of a sudden, hey, wait, can I even tell you what else we were doing? We were going to church every Sunday. I mean, we were doing all those things, and so now everything came to a screeching halt, and we have addressed how adults feel, how they are going through what they're going through, but very few people talk about, what's going on with our kids and our young teens and our young adults. So you had a chance to talk to some people, and they were able to tell you some things. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I reached out to a couple of my friends, going through this. I talked to my college friends. I talked to even some of my friends that are younger than me. And, I just touched on the basis of, how they were feeling going through all of this, what was going on, what's their mindset and what's their friends' mindset. So, I asked a couple of them, how they felt during all of this. And then, majority of them were like, I'm not used to this because I'm not, ready to be at home. I was on my own. I made my own rules. I did what I wanted to do, came and go as I pleased. And then when this coronavirus came around, it's just like a whole, dude, I gotta go back home to my mama. I gotta go under their rules. I can't do, what I normally do. And then for the seniors that's in high school, they were just like, okay. So, y'all already got us in school for our last year. We can't even catch senioritis like we want to because, this is in the time where, it's prom coming up. It's graduation coming up and everything. So, they were like, a lot of stuff was just taken away from them.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for a moment. We'll get to the ones who were in college and had to move back in. But let's talk about those seniors, and then we'll kind of work our way down because we do have some additional insight. But tell me about how did they feel about the prom first of all? This is their senior year. I remember. You all could go and have senior week where you wore pajamas and you spirited and have all these wonderful, this time of the year, this is basically where you just live out your senior fantasies and dreams, but that had to come to how did they feel about, not having a prom and those things like that?
Well, the not having a prom, I guess speaking on for some of the girls, I know that is a detrimental thing. Because, we got to pick out prom dresses, we got to, pick out a date, we got to pick out what car we wanted to ride, what colors we were going to wear. So we had all of that together. But, for them not having that, it's just like, okay, I sat here and I've been planning this since we got into school. That's the main talk. We're not even talking about exams and stuff like that. We're talking about the prom. Come on, prom is where it's at. And so, you sit there and you plan this day and you're like, okay, we're going to wear this dress. I'm going to go here with my girls and we're going to do this when we leave prom and everything like that. So for them to have this come in, it's just like, man, what do we do now? We have to sit at home. Can't really go nowhere. And, you can't really party like you want to with your friends. And it's just like that day that they wanted is just gone. So they hated that. They hate that. They dread that, but they understand that it's a reason why we're here.
Right.
And in this position. So it's just like...
And so too, as a parent, I can talk about proms. So I've done 3 proms, and as a parent, I do know, having a son going off as well, but having my girls when we went to go and pick out dresses, and I had to tell you that was that split was a little too high, or the bus level was too low. You had all those quirky moments that we were able to take pictures for those wonderful, wonderful moments. And so now a lot of kids feel like that moment is lost. So what do we do? What do you do, when you're going through things like this? Prom season, when you're going through, let's talk about graduation. That's a moment in time where everybody come all around. Grandparents, parents, those who are still with us, come and celebrate this wonderful occasion where we can just see them now moving from youth to young adults. And we do have an audience called Cody and Bella, so you'll hear them amening us every now and then. We're moving and transitioning from the stage, going to bigger things, whether it's college, technical school, or even the military, or even getting a job. You are moving from that young person to now moving to another level. And so it is a celebration, a celebratory time. It's a graduation season. And so, I do know you talked to a few of them about that. Yeah. Talk about that.
I talked to a couple of seniors, and I know that one senior, really spoke to me because he was like, I got to see my brother graduate. I got to see my sisters graduate. And, to not have that moment to see me walk across the stage and to have my diploma mailed to me, I don't get the same feeling. I don't, get to grasp that moment that they got to grasp going to the graduation practice, being out there in the hot sun, getting ready for that night, being anxious, standing in line, waving at all your parents and friends, because I know at that moment, being somebody that was in that moment, it was like everything to me. We worked so hard for these 4 years, and this is the day that, we get to say we're done, we're finished, finito. Whether you want to go to college or not, we're done.
You accomplished something.
Yeah, we accomplished something, and that just stepping across that stage and walking across the stage. I know for me, I was like, thank you, Jesus. Like,
me too, girl. Me too.
I was like, whoo, okay, but getting that to that point, and after all the arguments that we went through, all the because I know one thing my dad told me while I was in school, to dig deep, and all the digging deep I went through just to get to that moment, and not being able to have that moment is just like, wow, it was like heartbreaking. He was like, I'm so, disappointed that, we couldn't get that moment to share, with my parents. They can't see me. They can see my younger siblings grow and, do that. But I can't do that. They have to wait till like college and stuff like that just to see it. But I highly doubt they will stop the celebrations, because I feel like even though that day is gone, your moment is still not being taken away. They're still going to celebrate.
And so that's what I want to talk about too. As we talk about this, each level of education, where we're talking about either elementary, middle school, high school, we wanted to focus on them first, because right now the impact is there for them. A lot of us have next year, but they don't. And so, you may say, well, Pastor Dumas, what do you do in times like this? Well, there's one word that I hear you saying through all of what we've said so far. Mm-hmm. The words you said was seasons. Graduation season, prom season. And so when you think about seasons, I hear to preach, but I think about Ecclesiastes 3rd chapter, where it simply says, to everything there is a season. Oh my God. It says that because what it lets us know that even when God set up this world, when he set up the earth, he set it up in cycles of seasons, which means we won't be in a season always. You're going to have summer, spring, fall, and winter. You're going to have those seasons, which means every time there's a change that's going to happen. And so right now we're in the transitioning of a season, which means my season prior to does not look like the season I'm in. But one of the rejoicing facts, and you say, Pastor Dumas, where's the silver lining, is that this season won't last. There will be an end to this. So what can we do while we're here? We have come so far technological wise where we can have Facebook, you can have Zoom parties, you can have so many different type of activities. And I challenge our seniors to have a Zoom prom. I challenge them to have a Facebook prom, something that they can continue to keep that encouragement and communication up. Communication is key through all of this, because what isolation does, it can work for you or it can work against you. And when it works against you, there are so many things and pressures that we allow to build up on us. that you have people who contemplate suicide, people who contemplate depression. And so what they're saying is, instead of them being in a spot, they're digging down or getting stuck in a hole. And we must understand that we do serve a God that will pull you out of pits. And so for those seniors and all those ones who are ready to go to the next level, what this is teaching you, what it didn't teach you, what it didn't teach me, but what this particular season is teaching those is that life is not fair. This ain't fair at all. And I don't want us to walk through life thinking that I'm due certain things. Life is not fair. It throws you curveballs, but it's how you adjust yourself during these seasons. So I believe that these seniors are going to be some of the greatest leaders in America. Why? Because they've had to face adversity at a young age. They've had to adapt to something that they had never seen before, that their parents hadn't seen before. So I do believe that they can even stand firm on their faith to let the enemy know, look, I missed my graduation. What else you got for me? Because why? It is creating a generation and an army of believers who know that if I can make it through this, ain't much else that's going to knock me down. And so that's why we understand for that. And so that's one of the things we want to tell them. And we will go back to our 21 and older in a minute. But we do have ours too. I want to make sure we do this. But there are some parents out there who would be like me, who has to help with homework and working and all those things. We have to work and then try to make sure that our kids are getting the proper education they need. And I don't want to tell my age.
48.
Oh, I knew you would do that.
48. He just turned 48.
Yeah.
So 48. He looks 48. He is 48.
48. Thank you so much. You're so sweet. God bless you. But here we are. I'm 48. I wasn't going to tell it, but I'm 48. But what I want to say is, when I was growing up, and when I was growing up, our math was nothing like y'all math. In my day, we had to carry the one. I even taught you all at a young age, carry the one. I even preached that. I told a story that you got to carry the one. But now you have these things called core mathematics, which means now I have no idea. I have a master's degree, a specialist degree from seminary. And I want you to know, I struggle with trying to help those kids. And so we have thought about those things. And for the parents who are out there who are going through those type things, we have thought about it. And what we've done is we're going to call in a teacher who is now a 4th grade teacher here in Thomaston, Georgia, and who can kind of give us some tidbits and some help how to get through this thing, how we're going to make it through all these things, and how she's going to give us some tips and try to navigate us through these uncharted waters that we're going through. She's going to give us some insight, and also too kind of give us what other things, extracurricular activities our kids can do as well. But we'll bring her on when we can, we'll bring her on before our show's out.
So being a parent and all this going on, you have 3 growing adults.
Yes.
Not grown adults. Growing adults.
Oh, I'm so glad you did. Okay.
Grown.
Process.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Growing adults. Being a parent and, for us looking on the inside of this COVID-19, this coronavirus, being a parent on the inside, what would you give, advice to the other parents that's going through the same thing we've been through?
Well, it's different because, if you all were younger, we could find activities for you to do, group things for you to do, and you all do that now as growing adults. But one of the things is now you all had your own lives. Everybody had their own lives. You were creating an atmosphere, an environment for yourselves. And me and your mom had an empty nest. So we went from an empty nest to now a full nest. We went to just having to have small quantities of food or even fast food in the house to now having to buy groceries again. And trust me, you all have really been eating some groceries, sweetheart. God bless you. But we thank God, so those are some of the things that we had to adjust to. So now we're having to readjust. And I think this whole thing is just readjustment, trying to align and make sure that we give you all y'all space and respect your space and your time. And we have that as well. And I think that we've been doing a pretty good job of it. But I think there has to be communication. If you keep things bottled up and you keep things in, that's where frustration and anger comes out. Because right now, there are a lot of people that's angry right now. And then to tack on other things, you want to make sure that you are able to have conversations, have some family time, but also have some private time that you can.
It's nothing like the private time. nothing like time you can be with Jesus.
Testify.
And you can learn the Lord for yourself. Because private time is out of your control.
That's okay, boo. We just conversation.
I was just saying, there's nothing like your private time.
You gotta have
Nothing. Go get it. I'm saying this to you. That's what's up. That's what's up.
Well, so with that being said, so it is a level of respect. But seriously, before we can get her on, she okay. So what we'll do, we'll bring her in and then we'll get ready to close out and some things. So tell me who we have.
We have Kimberley Andrews. She's a 4th grade teacher in the Upsley school system.
Hey, Miss Andrews, how you doing?
Miss Andrews.
I'm finding you. It's breaking up a little bit, so I can't hardly hear.
What about now? Can you hear us now?
Oh, yes, that's better.
Okay. Listen, so we do understand, and I shared with our audience earlier that, when I was going to school and now just the mathematical part, I grew up with carrying a 1. Now you all have core mathematics or whatever name mathematics you all have now. And I have, a master's degree and I feel inferior to it as well sometimes. But, my master's was not in education. And so I want you to give us some tidbits we can do. How can we help our kids? Is there some websites we can go to or just some tips to help us survive this isolation?
Okay. First, thank y'all for having me on. First, I would like to say that make sure that you are staying in contact with your teachers. Keep communication with your teachers. We are still here to help in any way that we need to help. I do know that that parents are picking up packets on Wednesdays, and I do know that most teachers are putting work in Google Classrooms, and all the students should know how to get to their Google Classroom, know their password and usernames and stuff, because they use that in school already. So make sure you're staying in touch with the teachers. Even if the teachers are not staying in touch with you, please stay in touch with the teachers. We feel the same way that the students felt. I mean, on Thursday, we were at school, we had plans for Friday, we get home Thursday night, and they tell us that we're not coming back. So it was almost like somebody died and we didn't get to say goodbye. So we felt the same way the kids felt, still feel that way, but it is very, very different for us. I do understand there is a lot of hesitation when it comes to math. They call it core math, but whatever you call it, we're still doing it the same way. But and I try to tell parents, actually, with the math, it's really what we do already. We just do it in our heads. So what we do in our heads, the kids are just putting it on paper. So it looks a little foreign, but it's really not. But there are some sites, there's some interactive sites that parents can go to or the students can go to. You have sites like funbrain.com, Study Jams. Feel free to watch the videos on Khan Academy, YouTube. There's plethoras of YouTube videos out there for any subject that you would need to, get more information on how to do it if you don't know how to do it. I have a 10th grader, and I don't know how to do a lot of stuff that he's doing, so I had to pull up YouTube myself. And I want parents to understand we understand how you feel. Some of us are parents also, and we have kids that we have to still try to maintain communication with our own students, and also give them work and try. And sometimes we do connect on Zoom. So Zoom is a great platform for anybody who wants to get together. I mean, students can get together. They can come together and have a little Zoom party and study together and go over some of the work together. Also, Study Jam, I think I mentioned that. That's a good interactive site for students to go to. You can also take virtual field trips. DiscoveryEducation.com is a good site for that. Also, don't stress. Parents don't really need to stress on this. We're not expecting you to do an 8-hour school day every day. We do understand that some parents are still working, but that's not something we're expecting you to do, is stress over that. We just want to make sure their minds are still being stimulated, that they don't create a greater gap. in their education.
So
because we are moving. Go ahead. I'm
So
sorry.
let me ask you one question. So in a school, what's the recommended time that, you know, a lot of people feel, you know, in general, my child goes to school from, you know, 8 to 2:30, and they're going to be in there for those hours, you know, getting that done. And that's literally impossible to keep that, you know, that child's, you know, focus for that long. So in an average day, you know, what do you all recommend for a child, for, you know, if they're at home? What do you kind of recommend? I know that some days vary, but kind of a recommended time that they should kind of devote to their schoolwork.
I would say no more than an hour. Mostly the main focus I know in the elementary grades is the math and the reading. And I would say no more than an hour on each subject. I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time. You can teach your kids through other things besides sitting down with paper and pencil.
I like that.
Baking, you can do measurement with baking, go build something. I've had parents just send me pictures of their kids in the yard. They're building things and they're doing that. So the arts and stuff like that. So there's other ways to do it because you have to, you know, you have to remember in school we're just not sitting there all day.
Right.
We're just not all day working. So you do need to incorporate other stuff. But I wouldn't do more than an hour or so. But it is very, very important that they do some reading and math every day because now the math is not just computation, it is word problems. And if they can't understand the word problem, they can know how to do the math all day, but if they can't understand the word problem, they're not going to know what operation to do. So it is important that they focus on those two subjects.
Good. Well, I really appreciate that. You have given us so much information. Now, listen, this is something we're going to do every Wednesday, so I hope that we can kind of call on you to kind of give us to continue, not every Wednesday, but we want to, you know, be able to kind of stay abreast because we're trying to touch kids on all levels, you know, elementary school, middle school, high school, and even those who are now in the real world. But you have really helped us as parents. Even the kids who are doing some things, and I do know, you know, activities like you're saying, extracurricular activities like Legos, you know, take virtual tours in museums and Smithsonian, those type things. You can travel so much on your phone to see different places and things like that. So we do have some technologies at our fingertips. So I really appreciate you kind of giving us that, letting us know it's going to be okay, because I do know that there are some parents right now who are struggling juggling all these things. So I really appreciate you for giving us some information, and thank you so much for joining us on our very first show, What's Up Wednesday. So thank you so much for being our inaugural guest in this particular day. So thank you so much, and we will be reaching back out to you, okay?
Okay, no problem. My pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you. God bless you.
All right, same to you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
So, AKA, you got homework. Do it. She just told on half of y'all. You got homework.
Yeah, so you want to make sure that you do those things. Make sure you get your packets and those things, all those things in. So we've covered, you know, our elementary school. We've covered our middle schoolers who are kind of in between. We do know that at this age, you are at a point where you're trying to figure out who you are. You know, figure out, you know, what do you like, what do you don't like, your dislikes, those things like that. This is the time where you're trying to figure out who's going to be your sphere of influence. So what we say to you all is right now, just continue to search within yourself and know this time right now, figure out who you are, what you like, that you're not pressured to like something that you don't like. Peer pressure is so real that you have other people who they're thinking for you. This is the time you can think for yourself, to say what you like and what you don't like and what you disagree with, and start setting yourself a level of standards. So we want to make sure that we cover all of those bases, and also too, now we want to hit to our young adults and our 21-year-old age, and you know, we do have some single mothers out there. We have people who are already living on their own, who now are having some issues. So Carla, do you know you talk to some people who have their own place and they're starting to see what it's like to pay bills and things like that?
Yeah, so my friend was very, very, you know, he was very, very struck on about, because I was asking him how he has his own apartment and, you know, he's living by himself, and he's like, well, the rest of the world can rest. I still gotta go to work. He's like, I still gotta pay bills. I can't sit at home and, you know, just lounge just because they set the, you know, state in place, the shelter. Because he's like, nobody's gonna pay his bills. He has to pay his rent. He has to get groceries, and he has to do all these things because, that's his way of life. He says he talks to his mom every day, but she's still not helping with the bills. Right. She lets him know that okay, you're growing and you're growing into an adult. So these are the things you have to get done. So he was just so he was very proactive about that, and he was just like, okay, while the rest of y'all just sitting at home with your mom and dad, I gotta pay bills. And
that's so true. And this is what we try to prepare all of our children for, because there is a real world out there. There's a real world out there that at every 28 days, if those bills are not paid, then there are late fees that are added upon that. There's interest added upon that. There are repossessions and all those type things that can happen as a result of nothingness. So you have to continue to be proactive. This is a time for us also to learn how to save. This is a time for us to begin to write down our bills. What's more important to us? And I want y'all to hear this from me, young folks. I want you to hear this. You have to ask yourself, is it more important for me to have the newest, latest Jordans or the newest, latest trend in clothing? Or is it more important for me to make sure that I have a roof over my head, that my lights are on, that I do have some groceries? This isolation, although it is horrible, although it's horrific, although it is tough, it is also can be a teachable moment. Don't consider all of life losses as losses. Consider them as a lesson. What can we learn from this isolation? What can we learn from this COVID-19? First of all, we can learn to trust in God. Number two, begin to develop a budget. Begin to develop how you're going to do things and begin to prepare coming out of this. What am I going to look like when I come out of this? And we all should look better coming out of this than we were when we going in. We were taken aback. But now that we've gotten our grip and now that we know that we got a plan in place, we now know that. And that's why I said the Bible tells us back in Ecclesiastes, it says there's a time and a place for all these things. And one thing I want to say this as we shut this thing down, it says there's a time to embrace. And there's a time to refrain from embracing. What that means is there's a time that we should cherish the relationships we have. Daddy and daughters, mothers and sons, cousins, and embrace those moments, because there may be a time when those moments are so lack in our lives that we can go back and look at those times and relish those moments. But then there become a time that we have to refrain from that. And here we are now that we have our government and health officials telling us to refrain from that which we are familiar with. And so we've got to learn how to appreciate ourselves, how to know where our value is, that we may not have somebody to be able to pat us on the back to say we're going to make it. But guess what? It's time for us to start patting ourselves on the back. That's why I believe when Paul says, I have to encourage myself. There are some things we got to do in life ourselves. And this thing called life, we've got to work it out that we are going to make it. And hey, look in that mirror some mornings and say, hey, we're going to make it. Begin to speak to yourself and say, hey, we're going to make it. You can do it. You know why? Because we are now becoming stronger now more than ever. We have become a people who depended on other folk to help us out. But now we can depend upon God and what the gift that God has given us to work this out. Hey, this is Pastor Dumas. I want to thank you all for joining us on our What's Up Wednesday. We hope it has been informative. We hope you've enjoyed it. We hope by way somehow that we blessed you in some form or fashion. This is my co-host, Carmen.
I am Carmen. Yes, the co-host of What's Up Wednesdays. Thank you guys for joining in. Thank you for taking advice. Thank you for giving us your problems to, just talk about them and put us on this platform. Join us again next Wednesday at 6.
Don't forget, this is also too, I made God a promise, no matter if it's What's Up Wednesday, whether it's Bible study or church, there may be somebody out there who don't know Jesus as their personal Savior, that you feel alone and you feel as though that there are some things that are going on in your life that's beyond your control. What I say to you all on this day, that if you don't know Jesus as your personal Savior, Romans 10:9 simply says, if you believe in your heart, confess with your mouth that God raised Jesus from the dead, it simply says you can be saved. And if that's you today, I dare you to just type saved. If you are looking for a church home, a church who has not forgotten about you, who has not forgotten about your generation, who know you have feelings, know you have issues and concerns, and we are concerned about you, I would love to be your pastor. Stonewall would love to be your church. If that's you today, say, hey, go ahead and type in disciple. if you are at a family church and you're not attending that church often, but you really like what's going on at Stonewell and how we're going to expand this even more because you matter to us. If that's you, you can say, I want to be a watch care. You can type in watch care. And when you do that, you can give us that information, and you can also, we'll put a number on the screen. It's 706-601-4665. You can text that number and give your name and your information, and we will get something out to you. I want to be real with you all. We don't know how long this is going to last, but I tell you one thing is we're going to be in this thing together. Come join this journey with us, not only on Wednesdays at 6, but on Sundays at 9, Mondays at 6, and also don't forget, hey, we're right here for What's Up Wednesdays. So until next time, thank you again for allowing us in your personal space. Pastor Dumas, Carmen Simone saying it's a Stonewell thing. God bless.
That was so good.
Use your mind, so hear me as I say, life's not always down your feet.